Are there any additions or changes to the?
The only change is under item number 8, the non-compliance hearing with LeBron Trash Hauling. They want to postpone that until next month.
Okay,
Wasn't available, they had a discussion, so. Yes.
Amended.
okay, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved as amended. We have minutes from July 10th. Is there support? Support. Okay, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved as printed from July the 10th. Limited public comments. You have 3 minutes. None. Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Road Commission, semi-annual report.
Thanks for having me back. I don't get invited back very often, so this is nice. Just kidding.
All right, good to have you here. Only twice a year.
I'm not sure what to do with that. I know, right?
Most people think it's an advantage not to be invited back.
Yeah. No, it's good to let you guys know what's going on as much as I can. I don't have time to do it
Share something.
outside of this. Yes.
The reseal on the North Courthouse Drive,
Yes.
since the road commission didn't want to waste any material. County benefited.
Yep. We had about a half mile worth of material left. We didn't want to send it back. We still have to pay for it, so I was looking for a half mile of road, and this one was getting close to needing it anyway, so it made sense to put it there, so.
Thank you.
You did that for Shalat?
For the city? No, we haven't done, no, courthouse is our road.
Okay.
It's a county road, yep, so, no, we haven't done any for Schlot. We once in a while do one for Vermontville or something. They'll ask us to do one inside a village, but,
Right.
nope,
Thank you.
yep, Courthouse Drive is a county road, so. Well, again, good morning. I'm just gonna go through, I think the only thing I provided was a map. I don't really know what else you guys were looking for, but it kind of gives you an idea of where we're at and what projects we've done. As you can see, we've done a lot around the county this year, been very busy. Still not as much as I want to get done, but still looking for an engineer, so it's hard to get all the projects out the door and ready to go. So I'm just gonna kind of go through some of the bigger projects, give you a quick update of what we got going on, and then open the floor for any questions that you guys may have, so. We had 3 federal aid projects this year. We have Nixon Road, which is between St. Joe and Mount Hope. That's gonna be paved in the next few days, sounds like, at least the first layer. And then second lift and gravel, so it should be complete and open in the next few weeks. We have the Smithville Bridge project down by Eaton Rapids there. I actually went out there yesterday, and that's almost ready for asphalt, so that's supposed to get paved here in the next couple weeks as well, and should be open in a few weeks, so. And then Oneida Road, it was a federal aid buyout. We sold our federal funds for that project, but it's still federal aid, and that's from St. Joe to M43. We did 3 miles of resurface, but only those 2 miles were the federal aid part. Actually, Oneida Road from Mount Hope to St. Joe that we did is actually outside the urban area, so wouldn't have been eligible for those funds anyway. But that project is done, and yeah, it's all complete. And we did 2.5 miles of Otto Road where we repaired the edges of the pavement, resurfaced it. That's all done out there by the Orchard. Ionia Road, I think it still needs the pavement markings, but we did 2 miles, 4.5 miles, both south and north of Vermontville. And then we actually did a seal coat on the 3 miles south of Vermontville, so a big long stretch there got done, and we did south of that a chip seal last year, so everything pretty much from Bellevue to Lake Highway, I believe, has had something done to it in the past couple of years, so. Royson Road, it's still continuing. We had some issues with the subgrade and with the contractor and whatnot, but that should be complete and open in mid-October. It's passable now, it's just not, it's still closed because they're working in there. They're supposed to put the first lift of asphalt middle of next week, but we'll see how that goes. Crates Road, we're gonna mill and resurface from Lansing Road up to 496. That's on the schedule, but it has not been started yet. And I added Willow Highway between Kreitz Road and Elmwood. Right now, the township has it closed from Kreitz to Canal Road to do their wastewater treatment project. And so I'm gonna overlay the next mile to the east of that. That mix that was put down originally was the first round of a special mix, and it ended up being terrible. And it's fallen apart, and it fell apart on Kreitz Road and all the other ones. So it's a good one to get that top course gone and resurfaced. And Davis Highway there at the battery plant, that's a state-funded MEDC project. That work began Monday, I believe, and it's supposed to be open to traffic by mid-November. We're phasing that to coordinate with the battery plant construction because they've got so many contractors in and out of there and trucks and everything else, and it's quite a project. So there will be a roundabout at their entrance. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that area, but it backs up over the bridge to Canal Road for people going to GM in the morning. I didn't want to also have it back up at this intersection. So in talking to them, the roundabout made sense because it's only to serve the employees going in and out. It really made sense there. So I don't want to say I'm a roundabout proponent, but I do think there's valuable places for them. That's all the primaries on the local road. All the re-gravel for the millage is complete. We did 76 miles, I think, this year. I got my list here somewhere. About, I'd say half of the paving is complete. Almost all the rural stuff is complete. The subdivision, they just kind of got started on that. Had some, again, contractor issues, and so we're kind of addressing that. The Grand Point subdivision, just north of Grand Point Marina there off Kreitz Road, that's actually gonna get delayed till next year. I may pick another mile to do this year if I can find one that's easy to add on. Apparently the Board of Water and Light, there's some funding or something where that subdivision can possibly get water main down through it. So, they wanna not pave it, obviously, and then turn around and dig it up. So, trying to coordinate with the Board of Water and Light and the subdivision and the township on that.
That's Grand Point subdivision, the one that's right there by the marina, sort of?
Yep, just north of the just north of the river, just.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep,
Wow.
that one there, and I've talked to the HOA president in there, and so she's the one that actually initiated contact with me about it.
Well, they need water in there.
Yeah,
That's a real problem.
yeah, and then they've got the asphalt curb. She said something about replacing it with concrete curb, so I'm trying to work with the township on adding that to the special assessment district for the water. If they want a curb as well, they can do that at the same time. Otherwise, they're gonna be stuck with a asphalt curb. Second application of dust control just got started, so we're upgrading roads, getting ready for that. And that's the millage. For non-millage, we did a chip seal on 19 miles of road this year. 60 miles of road commission, 100% funded. 3 miles of that, we did cost sharing. 1 mile's in Benton, 1 mile in Hamlin. Maybe it's 2 in Hamlin. Yeah, I think it was 2 in Hamlin and 1 in Benton. And that's to try to keep these millage roads in good shape as long as we can. And then we're gonna do, I just put out a bid for culvert replacements. We've had some county drain culverts going bad over the years, and there's been some contention between us and the drain office. I think that's getting better, it's getting corrected. And part of that is cooperation on replacing these culverts. If I have to go through the Eagle process to get a permit, it's gonna take 6 months probably just to get the permit. The culvert's gonna be some ridiculously sized thing. I always tell people, go down to the Wilson Road culvert. I don't know exactly where it's at, but it's 17 feet wide and 11 feet high for this culvert because it has nothing to do with the drain. It has to do with the topography of the road. The old bridge was big. I can't make it smaller. I have to make it bigger. It's just a whole thing. Sorry about that. It's time to do something. I don't know what that was. We've got an agreement in place where I can replace the culvert under their umbrella. So I'm essentially replacing it for them, but we're paying for it. So I think that's gonna go well. So we're gonna replace the 5 of them. The ones at Royston Road at the project that we're doing. One is Bellevue, just west of Wilcox. If anybody knows that area, that's a pretty rough crossing. Moore Road is closed right now, just south of M50, up in Sunfield Township. There's 2 of them on Cochrane between Strange and Mount Hope. Everybody knows that area, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, that need to be replaced. And then the Green Road culvert, that's not a county drain, but the road's closed, the old bridge structure failed, and so that's a cost sharing with Walton Township. It's a local road, and so they're required to, if they want us to do it, to match 50%, and they agreed to do that, so. And then we are looking at we've gotten some complaints about intersection safety and things like that. So we are kind of looking at countywide, that kind of thing. We get complaints and concerns that, oh, there's a accident there, somebody got hurt, something needs to be done, we need rumble strips, we need this and that. A lot of times the data doesn't support certain things. One example, I got, I think 9 or 10 complaints of a crash just that happened a couple weeks ago, and they all talked to each other and they all sent me a complaint at the same time. And they want something done because people aren't stopping. Well, that's not what's happening. Over the past 10 years, there's been 9 crashes. Only one of them, somebody didn't stop. The rest of them, people stopped and then pulled out. So the signage and things like that aren't an issue at that intersection, but people don't necessarily know what's causing the crashes, and so that's the first reaction, is to do something. So something else may need to be done, and that's why we want to look at this and gather kind of some data and figure out the best way to go about this, so. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning, I've interviewed a few people for an engineering position, but can't quite find the person that fits yet. I hired an HR firm, and they can't find anybody. They've contacted like 200 people, and it's just the way it is right now for civil engineering, apparently, so nobody's looking, and it's hard to find anybody that's interested. I don't know. Seems like, to me, a desirable position, but what do I know, right? Maybe I'm biased. So that's all I have for project updates and what's kind of going on. Anybody have any questions?
Blake.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, and thanks for looking at those culverts on Cochrane. They're a mess.
Yep.
My district, of course. I got a constituent that was asking about Broadbent, the little south part of it. You've done most of Broadbent, but you haven't gotten that last bit between St. Joe and where it goes into the private subdivision. Is that on, are you aware of when that little section will get done, or is that just?
I'll have to look. I thought we paved that section. I haven't been down there a while, but I thought we'd paved that.
Maybe you did a few years ago, and
I think we did, because we weren't gonna pave the end of it because it was not a public road.
right, it was private.
But we kind of looked at it, and Blair's like, I think it was supposed to be public, and it just, the paperwork back when it was built didn't get done right, so we.
I think I remember that. So there's a section in there, I think, that might,
So maybe that section didn't, I'll look at it to check.
okay. Now, the culvert thing, do you have a reserve fund? Because I've seen a couple of culverts that have failed, and you guys had to come out and deal with it, and I could name a couple of them, but you know what I'm talking about. Suddenly you get a failure, wasn't on your list, and bingo, now it's a priority job, right? There's a hole in the road.
Yeah.
So do you keep some sort of a just-in-case fund just for those situations?
No, I mean, it kind of goes in our overall budget.
Yeah.
For primary roads. If it's a local road, that's where they sometimes will take longer, because I need to get with the township and get there's cost sharing agreement. For on a primary road, it's just a matter of what size does it need to be? Do I need to get an Eagle permit? So that's really the only delay in any of those. On a primary road, if it's a 12-inch culvert, we'll get out and get it replaced pretty quick typically.
Yeah.
In amongst, I mean, if we're in the middle of doing chip seal for the year, it might take a few weeks for us to kind of find a slow spot to get out there and do it, but.
Yeah, you've been good about the ones I'm aware of, you know, the hole shows up, it's caving in.
Yeah.
And you seem to get to it pretty quickly, so
Trying
thanks for
to.
that.
Trying to.
Yeah. Thank you.
Terrence?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, thanks, Matt. First of all, just looking at the intersections throughout the county, I think that's a good idea. I know people oftentimes will have complaints and sometimes with solutions, but a lot of times just with complaints about things. And so, and a lot of times the solutions aren't exactly what you're looking for, like you said. So I think it makes sense to do the work and to actually look at the problems as opposed to just doing something to solve something. But, and then my main question is the primary road system. So with the local road millage, we've all been keeping pretty up to date on where we're at with the local roads and feel pretty good about where we're at. How are we doing with the primary road system? Are we comparable as far as, and I don't know what metric you want to compare? Maybe it's the pacer or the rating, or maybe it's the how many roads have been redone in the last 10 years, or where we're at in the life cycle. I'm just curious, because when we did the local road millage, obviously all of the money that revenues that we generate have to go to the local roads, but we were also hoping that would free up some funds to be able to put in the primary road system as well.
Yeah, I don't think it freed anything up because we weren't really paving anything anyway and doing things on the local road system.
Yeah.
Before that anyway. The increase in the fuel tax is probably the biggest thing that helped on the primary roads. That's where we're able to kind of do some more things. Our annual report is probably the thing I can refer to right now. I haven't looked at it lately. I think there's and I probably lied right to you. No, there's not, apparently. So in the millage report, it's probably not a bad thing to put in here, honestly, now that you say that. We have the charts in good and fair and poor condition.
Right, yeah.
And so we can do the same thing. There's the Transportation Asset Management Council website that all that information's on. Sometimes it's a little behind, is my issue with it, so
Sure.
keep that in mind if you do get on there and look at anything. And I can get you whatever you want if you want some kind of a table or chart, but I just finished our asset management plan as required by state law. I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago or something like that, and so that's the plan that's supposed to kind of keep us in good and fair condition.
Sure.
Is the theory behind it. So if we can stay on top of that, I'm planning on doing a chip seal on every primary road once every 5 years. So that's why if you see some of the roads, and maybe you guys have gotten some complaints, like it's a good thing to point out, is you've probably seen us chip seal some roads that are in pretty good shape. Well, that's why, because they're in good shape.
Right.
That's when you want to chip seal them, keep them in good shape. If you wait till they're in bad shape, like Ionia Road, south of what we just paved, south of 79 there, it needed to have something done to it. We didn't have the money in the budget last year to pave it or in the next few years, so we had to do something. We sealed it. It'll keep it in decent shape, but at some point it needs an overlay.
Sure.
And then follow up with a chip seal to kind of keep it in good shape.
Can you just say anecdotally from your aspect, I mean, do you think that we're in a similar position? Do you think we're better off on the primary roads, worse off on the primary roads?
Probably similar, just because of how much money we've put into the locals in the past. We've only been putting money into the primaries for 3 or 4 years now. We've been putting money into the locals for 10 years now, so
Right.
probably similar, I would think, because some of the first locals we did are starting to
Sure.
want to chip seal them to try and keep them from completely falling apart again.
Going back, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, Blake, or Brian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Morning, Matt.
Morning.
Called you a few times, you haven't returned my call, so I've got 4 questions here. I'd love to sit down with you.
I'll apologize, because I have not gotten any messages from you, and so I'll find out. Did you leave a message with somebody or on my?
Well, yeah, I thought I had your phone number and left a couple messages, and then I called the office and
Make
they
sure,
said they'd have to call me.
let's make sure you have my number, because
Okay.
that's one thing, just so everybody knows, I want to call people back as much
Okay.
as I can, so if you don't get a call from me and you need something, call me again or email me or whatever, because either I forgot it or didn't see it or whatever.
Well, if you're here at the end of the meeting, I'll get the number from you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Stewart and Island Highway, rumble strips. I'm glad to hear you say rumble strips. I would love to see you put rumble strips on Stewart Road. I get the fact that not everybody is just blowing through that, but too many are. And it's scary out there. And I would love to see the road commission post speed limit signs on Island Highway and some of the, Vermontville Highway is another good example. People blow down through there. 70 mile an hour is not uncommon anymore. And obviously, I drive Island Highway a lot, and it gets scary out there at times. I've had people pass me at Hartel Road and Island Highway when there's traffic coming south on Hartel, and they just blow right through there. Scary stuff. Anyway, question about townships. What authority does a charter or even general law township have when it comes to establishing speed limits and other restrictions on the roads?
They don't. They can request that we look at it, and then at that point, we have to request from from the state police that they look at it. I know there's something in the law that I don't believe is passed yet, that they're looking at changing, townships being able to do something with the speed limits, like setting them at a lower speed limit or something like that. But I don't believe that's passed yet.
Okay.
To look at it. I haven't
So
got
it
any
has,
requests.
it has to, no matter what they say at the township level, it has to go through the state of Michigan first?
The state police, yeah, have to
State
do
police.
traffic study. So I can't legally post a, speed limit sign without having the traffic study saying that that's the speed limit.
Oh, okay. Well, we wait too long, then Island Highway would be definitely 70 mile an hour.
Yeah, well, and it's 55, so it's highly unlikely it would get lowered anything below 55. And, I mean, people know it's 55, whether we post the speed limit signs or not. I don't expect that would change anything. But I can talk to the board and see if they'd be interested in doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think a friendly reminder out there might be good. I'm glad to hear you say you're not a proponent of roundabouts. They're the most ridiculous thing ever invented by man. And from my 25 years of driving semi, I will tell you, too many roundabouts are too small. And that one at Grand Ledge, I think it's hilarious. You see truck trailer skid marks up through there because they can't make that circle. And you get tire tracks up in the center of it, every place else. It was poorly.
We love our roundabout at Grand Ledge, Brian.
Huh?
We love our roundabout.
Well, you may love it, but it's too small. I mean, it's not designed for truck traffic. And I used to pull doubles, and I'll tell you, doubles would not get around that very well. I would agree. Thank you. And then last, Creepy Swamp. Where's that at right now, and what are we doing?
I was gonna write that on my list to give an update, and so I apologize, I'm glad you brought that up. It's still in design, they're working on it, it's quite a process. We met out there with the drain office to talk about where the crossing's gonna be, and then talk about what the elevation's gonna be, and then the drain on the south side's gonna have to get shifted a little bit, to fit the road cross-section in there, so, I'm still hoping on next year. A lot of it's gonna depend on the environmental part of it. Once they get the design, they gotta submit the environmental part to MDOT, and that's been slow. I guess maybe the easiest way to say that.
Okay. But the plan is to bury styrofoam blocks, right, to kind of float the road?
I don't think they have a plan necessarily yet. I don't think they can do that. The water elevation, by the time you dig down to get the blocks in, you're not gonna be able to get the water out of there enough to get the blocks down to be able to fill on top of them. So they're probably looking at, if anybody's familiar with the drain project, the Carrier Creek, I'm sure everybody's heard of it. When you go 496, there's that big berm right there next to the freeway. They built that on the same type stuff that's out over at 5 Point and Creepy Swamp. And they didn't dig anything out. They just put these geotextile fabrics out and loaded it real slow. So it settled as they were doing it, but at some point it kind of stopped settling because it could handle the weight, and then it's been there ever since. So my guess is they're looking at something like that. I asked them to do a surcharge is what I would like to see, and that way it's a permanent fix, but I think there's some hurdles doing that, so I think they're looking at a different route.
Now, my understanding is the state of Michigan doesn't want to put a bridge in because they don't think they can span it without disrupting whatever's in the water and the mud. Is that correct?
I don't know if we've talked to them about putting a bridge in. I think the bridge would be cost prohibitive is gonna be the problem. Just replacing the bridge, it's 30 feet long, is around $2 million now. So
Well, I'd like to see or whoever's opposed to a bridge, I'd like to see them come out and do a study in the wintertime and in the spring when it's flooded and see, you know. I don't think we should endanger the residents of Eaton County because somebody thinks there's a mussel or a fish or a frog or something that's might be endangered. I think we're a little above the food, higher up
I
on the
don't
food
wanna go
chain
on
in that.
record responding to that, so I'll just keep my mouth shut.
All right. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
Blake, you gotta wait, Joe.
I was just going to try and end your presentation on a somewhat positive note. I was speaking with my nephew a bit ago, and he wants to be a civil engineer like his father was. Unfortunately, he's only 16 years old, so he might have to wait a few years before he's available.
Good. We need them. Yeah.
Just quickly, just for clarification, this is the time of year when there's a lot of visibility blocked at intersections because of low-hanging trees and leaves, and people are always calling about that. are you actively working on some of those visibility issues? Or should I just tell my residents, get out there with your loppers and cut the branches that are in your way?
Well, that's kind of a two-part response, I think. If we get it, tell them to call.
Yeah.
There's definitely if it's a public road intersection, tell them to call. We'll get a service request. We'll get people out to look at it, and if it's something needs to be addressed right away, we'll.
You know, you can be clear all year, but then now when the tree leaves are there and they're growing out and all of a
Once you
sudden.
clear, it makes it worse the next year almost. So, if it's at a driveway, so I just got a complaint about a driveway that somebody can't see. A lot of the brush is on his property along the road.
Yep.
I don't have staff to run out and clear everybody's driveway visibility. They're gonna, I mean, especially if it's on their property, they really should be cutting their own brush, so.
Okay. So
Yeah, loppers, chainsaw, whatever they need, or Roundup, I don't.
just so people know, when it's an intersection of two, you will come out and look at it.
If you guys do get a call on maintenance thing, obviously send me an email, get a hold of us, whatever, but, the best thing for them is to have them call us, we'll do a service request. That's the quickest way to get it to our area supervisors, for them to start looking at it. If you send it to me, I may not even see the email for a few hours, a day, who knows what, so if they call the office, somebody's gonna answer the phone, and then they're gonna get a response much, much quicker, so that'd be my recommendation. Anybody else?
Any other questions for the road commissioner while he's here? Thank you.
No way. Demoted, yeah. All right, well, I appreciate it. I've got your, yep. Brian, I've got your email.
Construction code?
Morning, everybody. Hello. It's been a couple months.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
You can say it. It's just been that time. We attended a meeting for Windsor Township that we were invited to by the State of Michigan Construction Code Commission. That was on July 17th, and it was to discuss Windsor Township taking over their own permitting and inspecting and enforcements. There's no change to that at this time because they didn't have enough for a quorum to have the meeting. So it has been rescheduled for October 9th. What's that? Yeah, it was a nice drive to Lansing and back.
Shows the level of enthusiasm for the idea.
We are working on details for contractor's breakfast this year. I'm going to try and do it a little different. We'll do it with the trades, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical. For one, all of our codes have changed this year. I'm on my new code, plumbing's on their new code, mechanical's on their new code. So that's kind of why I'm focusing on the subcontractors or the trade contractors right now. No, we'll do it all as one. Sorry, Brian. Yeah, make a note, Brandy. So that is why I'm focused on the trade, because all of our codes have changed this year. If all goes well, the building code is at JCAR right now for its 15-day review. If it goes through JCAR, then the building code will change the end of this year, beginning of next. So in that happening, then probably next year I will do a builder's breakfast again. Because I'm sure everybody's gonna have lots of questions. Because I know as far as I'm concerned with electrical, I get calls, several calls daily from contractors that don't understand some of the changes that were made in my code. We're also working on developing a workshop for local units of government regarding zoning and permitting, just to communicate with townships and cities and villages if they have questions. We've been working with the city of Charlotte since their zoning administrator left. We've been helping the new zoning administrator just call and ask questions. Obviously, our zoning is different than the city of Charlotte's, but just on the routes that some of the things we use, some of the forms we use. Brandy's helped them a lot, get involved with they had BSNA, but they never used it. So they've already determined that that's made their life a lot easier by just using BSNA. So, other than that, we've been a little bit slower than last year with permits, which I kind of anticipated. The cost of materials alone is astronomical right now. And it's obviously an election year, so that slows things down in construction too. I don't know why. At the end of the day, it's, you still need a house to live in, so. But other than that, everything's good, unless you guys have any questions.
Are there any questions? Yes, Blake?
Do you have the field BSNA software up and running?
Our field,
Yes.
as far as,
You were gonna have it all available on your pads to be able to do your.
Yeah.
working. Is that working properly?
yep,
and-
yep, we've always had field.
Yeah,
The problem with, we have BSNA.net, which is building, which is what we use when we're here in the office.
Yep.
Then when we go out, we use field, and we have to come back and sync. If someday we were ever to be able to go to the BSNA cloud, we wouldn't need field. It would all be live. Every time, when I'm out in my car doing an inspection, I get into the system, it would automatically send an email out to the contractor, to the homeowner. Now they don't get it until I get back at the end of the day and sync.
so I thought we were gonna upgrade that to the newer software where it was cloud.
Well, we are talking about it. We've had conversations with BSNA, but it's not just my department. It would be the treasurer's office. It would be the drain office and equalization.
Okay, I didn't realize that it would be a,
Yeah, because we all use, I don't know if the drain office isn't using BSNA, I don't think, for,
I thought there
Yeah.
was one component, but I think that went away on the
yeah, and
assessment side of
I
it.
think part of the issue is if we go to the cloud, BSNA doesn't have what the drain office needs under the cloud.
okay.
So, but we are talking, we've had meetings with the treasurer, equalization, and the drain office and BSNA. It's just a matter of,
Okay.
I know Delta Township just went live online with BSNA Cloud. So I've been talking to their director and seeing how he likes it. And so far, he said he really likes it, so.
Okay, good.
Okay?
Any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day, you guys.
You too.
Recycle, you're up.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Just some general updates. We've been working on our education programs. We were working with the Charlotte Science Adventure Camp and the Eaton County Parks and Recreation Adventure Program this month. And we taught the youth about recycling, composting, and composting with worms. Licensing updates, the department has received 7 solid waste ordinance reporting and remittance submissions as of the 8th. 2 haulers remain non-compliant, LeBron Trash and Hauling, and Liberty Environmental Landfill. We've spoken with both haulers that are not in compliance, and we are delaying any actions until next month in September. County programs, our Recycle Palooza event was just this past Saturday at the Eaton County Road Commission site in Charlotte, sorry. Still getting.
You'll get there, Jared, you'll get there.
Don't say. Our preliminary numbers from that event, it can take a while to get some of the information from the vendors, but we had over 400 in attendance, or registrations, and over 300 in attendance. And our tire collection, scrap tire collection, was very successful, where we had almost 1,300 scrap tires taken for free from the residents of Eaton County. And next month, as we get all of our numbers in from our vendors, ERG and ShoePen, I'll have a report for what the final numbers for our recycling events were for this year. For local projects, our Solid Waste Alternative Grant Program, we've been receiving third quarter grant reports and disbursements have been processed. We've received Bellevue, Cara, Delta, and Grand Ledge. And an update with Sunfield. The department has signed a supplier agreement with Recycle Services LLC for glass recycling at the Sunfield Recycling Center. The agreement does not charge the county for any of their services, and the company will be dropping off a 30-yard roll-off container on site at Sunfield for household glass recycling. And as an added bonus, window glass is very hard to recycle and dispose of, and we will be taking window glass with this new program. With respect to our recycling trailer program, our mobile recycling trailer program, we will be taking glass with that also to be taken to Sunfield to be recycled. Our mobile recycling program, or MRP, which is the Eagle Infrastructure Grant, we had our kickoff event on August 1st in the village of Vermontville, and we will be in the village of Vermontville every first Thursday of the month from 1 to 4 p.m. The event was very successful with the ribbon cutting, and the publicity was organized by Logan Bailey. Commissioners Mott, Augustine, and Hanson attended, as well as representatives from Vermontville and the state of Michigan. Press was also there. WLIX, NBC, and Fox 47 reported on the event and did some promotion for the mobile recycling program. And we're in the process of planning the next 2 locations for the trailer. Our criteria is about 10 miles or more from the nearest recycling center for residents. And so our targeted areas are Windsor Township, Eaton Rapids Township, and Brookfield Township for the next locations to be in consideration. The departments also had discussions with Eaton County Parks and other departments within the county to make the trailer available for other programs and special events, specifically for the county. And our Quarter 2 grant report was due for the Eagle Infrastructure Grant and submitted on July 30th with just what our expenses and activities were over the past 3 months. And we should be expecting the grant to be reimbursing us shortly after the grant is approved. The Rural Electronics Recycling Grant, the department, we finally got it approved and the budget amendment approved through Eagle. And we're expecting that after October 1st, we'll be able to be starting to spend the grant money and be fully operational by early next year with our rural electronics recycling program. The Calhoun County, Cara, and the hub and spoke model. Our material management agreement with Calhoun County has been proceeding successfully with over 5,000 pounds of plastics and over 4 shipments received at the Sunfield Recycling Center. We've been getting more plastics, which means we can have enough to ship out more often, and combined with, excuse me, what Sunfield Recycling Center does, what Cara delivers, and what Calhoun delivers, we're able to ship out over 9,000 pounds of plastics, providing over $1,500 in revenue back to the program, which is in addition to the processing fees charged to Calhoun County, which is over $1,300. A 5th delivery is scheduled for today through Calhoun County. And just another note, Calhoun County does not have any recycling centers. They collect all of their plastics with a similar trailer to what Eaton County received. So all of their plastics and materials that they're receiving and delivering to us are actually taken in through their recycling trailer as they move it through the county to various locations. The materials management plan, the department's submitting a resolution to establish the Materials Management Planning Committee. The MMPC will replace the Solid Waste Review Committee, and the work plan approved by the MMPC and the County Approval Agency will become the County Materials Management Plan, which will be replacing the Solid Waste Ordinance of 1993. The MMPC consists of 13 total member positions, 12 active and 1 vacant, who direct the designated planning agency, which is the Department of Resource Recovery, in preparation for the materials management plan, advises counties and municipalities regarding the MMP, and provides the final level of MMP approval before the work plan is submitted to the county approval agency. There's a list of criteria that makes various institutions or organizations eligible for MMP membership, and the MMPC will be an official Eaton County Planning Committee. And the way the department's expecting to, once the resolution passes, the department will be soliciting for membership. And the solicitation process is going to be, we have a list of all the qualified candidates and organizations within the Tri-County area. And we will be directly contacting numerous from officials to waste haulers to environmental groups. And on our website for the Department of Resource Recovery, we'll have a very simple application process where we'll be asking people their names, addresses, what organizations they work for, what category they qualify for the MMPC for, and professional accolades, and then a small letter of intent to say why you want to be on the committee. And again, once the resolution passes, the application process will be live, and the department will be actively seeking out candidates for the committee. If more than one candidate applies, more than one qualified candidate applies for the same position, we'll be holding interviews. And if the Board of Commissioners, acting as the county approval agency, would like to do further interviews with any of the candidates, further vetting, they will be going in front of the Board of Commissioners and actively interviewing in front of the Board of Commissioners for an appointment on the committee. And that is my report.
I guess that's my question here. We're talking about essentially creating a new group that this board is going to okay, like we do every year. We have, we have a lot of commissions and sitting committees that we appoint people to. So this one, the MMPC, do we just, as a county commissioner, as actually probably this committee is going to be doing that work, do we just approve the ones that, of the long list of people that are on this MMPC group, which ones do we at this committee approve? Every one of them?
It would work just like your other committees do, so whatever the term per their bylaws is gonna be, they would have expiration dates, and they would go through the same process as the other committees do.
So we're gonna have Jared's group do the initial work, and they'll come up with the materials recovery facility operator, and that person will be put on the list, and, okay.
And then this group will have the final approval, and then, as Jared said, if there are 2 qualified people, then Resource Recovery will probably bring it to you for some type of a vetting process or interview process.
What will the term of these appointees be?
Jared, do you have any sample bylaws for the group yet?
No, according to Eagle, they're going to be staggered appointments, 3 and 5 year appointments.
Okay.
And so, but initially, as everybody signs on, they'll be on the same schedule. And then as we move through the process, it would be staggered appointments.
I'm just looking at the logistics of how we do this, because we have all these committees, we all appoint people, they're all on different staggered times, and I'm just mentally looking at how we're going to integrate that into our existing framework. And
Yeah, so it would work similar to the PDR committee. So the PDR committee by bylaws and by statute has different people that are required to be on that committee. You have to have a township person, you have to have the drain commissioner, you know, some other things like that. So it would work similar to that. So every year when we go through and do the committee appointments, we would look to the Resource Recovery Department to see if those people want to continue, and if not, for them to try and vet out a list to bring to you to pick from.
On committees that I serve on, and all of us serve on, the difficult ones are always going to be the elected officials, because they all have different terms and different cycles. You know, you got to have a elected official from a city or a village, you know, and they've got to get appointed by the city or a village to be on the, you know, it can become very complicated.
Yeah, so those terms will most likely run like yours do on committees, and it'll run by their elected term, not by like the 5-year term.
Yeah, okay, good enough.
Yes.
Thanks. Did I understand you to say that this plan that you're talking about will supersede the ordinance that we passed in 1993?
Yes, the intention of the transition, the state of Michigan mandating the transition from solid waste plans to materials management plans, where everything in the solid waste ordinance will be included in the materials management plan, whereas in addition, the state would like us to look at and track all materials as they move through the county and find alternatives for landfilling them
Well, that's
in
all,
our plans.
that all sounds well and good, but a plan has no force of law. And part of what we did in 1993, we did an ordinance because it allowed us to charge the constituents here and the companies. And that's how we raised the funds that kept your department afloat. And I don't think a plan is going to, there's no ability under a plan to charge a fee of any kind. So you might want to rethink that. I've suggested for quite some time that ordinance should be looked at, that things have certainly changed since 1993 and what we were trying to accomplish. But simply throwing it away, or incorporating it, so to speak, into some kind of plan has absolutely no force of law as far as I know. And I think at that point, you would be hard-pressed to charge a fee of any kind.
We'll have to check with our attorney on that, because we don't have a choice. This is by public act that we're required to have this MMP. So we'll have to check with our attorney and see how that's going to work. That's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was a very good point.
Any other questions or concerns? Yes, Terrence.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd move the resolution to create the Materials Management Planning Committee.
Support.
Is there any discussion?
I'll just add one thing, and that's there's 11 people on this committee, and they're from all over different areas of government and public, and good luck getting a quorum when it's time to meet and make decisions. So, thank you.
Okay.
I'm just being optimistic. I'm just being realistic. I know how these things work.
You got,
The department's very aware of those challenges.
you only got about 3.5 more months that you need to care about it, Mike.
Unless he gets appointed.
Please, no.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anything else for us today?
No, that is all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Jared. Yes, Terrence.
Sure, if I may, I do have one question for Jared. Jared, so we have I won't name names, but we have a hauler in our city that sometimes has a problem picking things up. And I've noticed that, ironically enough, I was out for a bike ride and said, man, this stinks. Somebody needs to do something about this. And the next day, the city started sending out notices to residences about ordinances. And so the ordinances, obviously, the city has jurisdiction over their own ordinances. But who, is it the county that actually would regulate the trash haulers? I mean, who holds the trash haulers accountable to pick this up? Or is it all through holding the residents accountable that they have to, find a trash hauler that's actually going to show up? Do you have any knowledge of that? Do you know what that process looks like? Here comes Debbie.
Yep.
We do have in our solid waste ordinance, that we can take a hauler's license away if they have had repeated violations. As far as the trash that is sitting there right now, I have discussed that with Barry Eaton Health Department. And it is the responsibility of the homeowners. Basically, because if you put your trash out and it's not picked up,
Right.
at that point, you just don't keep putting it out.
Right, right.
I have been in contact just yesterday, my first contact with that hauler. He is planning to return in approximately a week. So there's nothing that's going to be done at that point. If we determined that it was necessary, we could take the steps to try to remove his license. We've never done that before in the department, so we would have to seek legal counsel to make sure that we were following all our Ps and Qs. At this point, I'm not certain whether it would even be worth our time. I think there's been a lot of people who have found new haulers.
They're working on it. The problem is that he bills as often as he collects the trash, so they.
Right. So technically,
people
yes,
like
we
him.
do have a mechanism where we can remove licensing.
Okay, so and that was my main question, and I'm not suggesting that we get into it at this point, but I was just more curious of who has the jurisdiction. So we would have the jurisdiction over the waste haulers themselves. The city is coming at it from holding the residents accountable for the trash that they're putting out that their hauler is not picking up.
Yes, and the health department was looking at whether there was a possibility of holding the hauler responsible in that just the trash that was within their cans, because they own the cans.
Oh, okay.
So anything that's sitting on the ground, the homeowner or renter owns that trash. But they were looking into whether there was any legality to holding the trash hauler responsible for what was inside their can.
Right.
I think it will probably resolve itself before any of us can get to that point, one way or another.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, Ryan.
Just curiosity here. If you have a hauler anywhere that fails to pick up after a week or 2 weeks, couldn't you designate another hauler in the area to pick up for them and then bill that original carrier?
Could we? Potentially, but I think it would be really difficult for the hauler coming in. Are they gonna pick it up one time? Are they gonna get paid for it? It's not gonna be on their route. The logistics of doing that, I think, could be more difficult than dealing with it as it is.
Well, I'm just thinking of some kind of penalty against the carrier that fails to pick up, so that's a bit of a deterrent for them to just take off and leave people stranded. I mean, it's not like you can call the next guy down the street and say, hey, we need our garbage picked up because our guy failed to do it. I think something should be in place so that there's I don't want to say automatically happen, but it's a quick fallback to get this stuff taken care of. I don't know where, like Republic and these other carriers, I'm assuming they all go to the Granger dump there up in the north end of the county anyway, so.
Number of them, yes.
Yeah. So I don't think Granger would be upset if you called him and said, hey, we needed somebody to back this guy up. He's not doing his job.
We don't have a specific mechanism in the ordinance for that, but I think we could potentially, especially through the MMP process, it would be great to see us strengthen that ordinance. As we said, it's from 1993, and it could use an update just as much as our material management plan could.
Well, and I think, Brian, to if I may, how that would probably go down is it would be the municipality that would engage a contract, just like a junk ordinance. If somebody has a ton of stuff on their porch or something that's not allowed, the city will pay a contractor to come have it removed and then charge the owner, send them a bill for it. I assume that's how we would get to the point to where you're at, is whoever is in charge of the zoning for that particular unit would then be the person that would engage those people to come and collect the trash and get rid of it. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that, but I think that's
where it would likely.
Yeah, whatever it would take to get somebody moving. And, they've got to look at it and say whether it's viable for their own business to have somebody else pick up the stuff that they're now not going to get paid for. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Parks?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is my mic on? Okay.
Chad, I see the first thing on there is the director update, so I'll just jump in.
You want to take that? Okay.
Yeah, real quick on that. We did hire a new director. We also have hired the new events program coordinator. So the events program coordinator starts August 19th, and the new director will start September 3rd. And then in reference to the department restructure, that's something that we are continuing to work on. So we'll have an update for you on that next month. Okay, Chad.
Okay. Yeah.
No, there's a lot more on there.
Thanks. See you next month. I'll start with at Dyer Kiln, we had a historic commission marker designation last Friday. It was surprisingly high turnout. I was shocked at how many people come to that and were interested in that. There was several people from the community, a few commissioners, and Logan Bailey was documenting it, as well as our park staff, so that was nice. We also had a ribbon cutting yesterday for the new dock out at Crandall Lake. That was also a nice turnout. Ben will speak a little bit more about that in his report. And we also, last week, we put cameras up out there, which was a big need for some of the vandalism we've been seeing. I'd like to see that expanded into some of the other parks where we've had some problems, like Keeney, and even Fox Park, if we see that it's necessary. They seem to be doing good out at Crandall. Really eye-opening at how much nighttime traffic we're getting through that park, that throughout the night, from midnight all the way till daylight, there's been people wandering around. We need to somehow close it down to where we don't have that. I think it's just a matter of time before we have another unfortunate incident if we don't do something, put a gate up or something to that effect. The update for the vandalism at Keeney, we're still working with contractors to get that repaired, pricing, and get that back up and running. It's currently closed. The boardwalk's closed due to the handrails that have been destroyed. And then at Dyer, also working with contractors on the restoration project. It's a unique project, so you have limited contractors that are interested in even trying to tackle it, because it's such a old structure and it's hard to put a price on it. That's what I've been hearing from some of the contractors. We've reached out to several. Some are just said no thanks. So, yeah, it's stonemasons. They're giant stones. It's just kind of a trade that's been dying over the years, and we were fortunate to have the gentleman that was doing it before that was interested in doing that. But some of the newer contractors they'll do it, but it's the price tag goes up just to mess with it. So we had the Michigan Mountain Bike Association, through a grant they received, put a mountain bike kiosk, which is a sign mapping the trails at Fox Park. Turned out really nice. I don't think we have a picture of it, but I'd like to see more of those at some of the parks too, kind of detailing what we have to offer at each park. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ben. He can kind of give us some updates on the projects and where we're at with operations, and then I think Ethan has a couple things to say too.
Morning.
Morning.
So I have a pretty short update. Operations are running smoothly. We're starting to lose seasonal staff. That number will be down to, we're at 6 right now, we'll be down to 2 or 3 by the end of the month. As far as, Claudine, were you gonna talk about the stairs?
Nope, go ahead.
Okay. All right, so for the fifth stairs, just for the design phase, we've got 2 out of the 3 contractors have gotten back to us with quotes. And I'd like to move forward with Johnson Hill, who has given us a quote of $27,840 just for the design phase. As well as the LB House asbestos abatement and demolition. We had 3 contractors give us quotes. 2 of them came in at $36,000. Yes.
I said 30,000 just to design the stairs, not even put them in?
So Chad, last month we did a budget amendment for up to $100,000. Can you explain why we're going this route instead of what we talked about last month?
So the original contractor, the $100,000 number included design. We decided to look at what it would cost to break that out and get some better numbers on just the design of it. Once we have that in place, then we can have a good basis to go out for bid for the actual stair project. But yeah, unfortunately, I mean, engineers, they're expensive.
Well, and I
Matt was
assume,
saying earlier.
Chad, if we get the engineering done, it's gonna make it so that more people will be able to bid on it as far as contractors go, right?
Absolutely.
So that would hopefully lower the price at that point too,
Yes,
so.
yeah.
We're still hoping that it would be under the 100,000 that we approved at the last meeting. It's just, this is the route we're taking.
So it just paints a clearer picture for contractors. If we take a contractor out there and say, hey, this is what we need, design and build it for us, well, their interpretation of that may be different than what we're looking for, right? So
Yeah.
by getting a solid design that's apples to apples for everybody to bid, then we can review those designs and decide, hey, no, maybe we want to do this or that. We can tweak the design, then put it out to the contractors. Everybody's pricing the same thing. And that way we get the best value for what we're looking for.
And the control over the design, that makes sense.
Yep, so we already have the budget amendment, so the money is there. Just wanted to run it by you and make sure it was all right to just hire that low bid. It doesn't require any action, just if you guys are okay with that, we'll move forward with hiring that company.
Oh, you don't need any action from us to move forward with the bids?
We did the budget amendment last month for up to the 100,000.
Okay,
So as long as you guys are okay with the low bid, that's how we'll move forward.
I think it makes sense.
Makes sense to me now.
Chad, before you sit down.
Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm always curious when we have a big spread between contractors on bids. And, I mean, obviously, we always want to pay less, so we're going to go with the lowest. But what are the other bids giving us that this one's not, or are they all identical and this is just the way they pay?
So there's a lot of variables when, as a former estimator, I would, depending on what their workload is, what their staff is, what time of year it is, it could increase or decrease that number. When Ben met with them, he told them what our desires were, what our goals were for the project, and they priced it accordingly. It could be all over the map as far as, and the same thing when we get contractor numbers. You could see a big variation. It just may depend on whether or not they are, how it fits into their project schedule. Usually that's the case on the variance in numbers.
All right, thank you. And then in follow-up to that, given the fact that there's going to be an expansion of the treatment center there at Fitzgerald Park, will that impact this stairway at all?
No, it shouldn't. It's at the other end of the park.
Okay. All right, so we can do it once and leave it alone, don't have to worry about it again for a long time, hopefully.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Chad.
So the Lincoln Brick House that Ethan just talked about and the low bid on that one, that is in the budget for this coming year. So that's in the budget for October 1st. So if you'd like to move forward with that now, that will require action for a budget amendment, or we can wait and hire that out on October 1st.
I think we
That's
need to
at
do
your
it as
pleasure.
soon as possible. I would move the recommended amendment. I assume this has to go to
Ways-
that one committee on Friday, Ways and Means. I would move the recommendation of the budget.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Is that the 36?
The GFL is 29,201, and that does include the capping of the well and the crushing of the septic. If we decide later we would like to put a bathroom in, it can either be a vault toilet or there is a tie-in to city services on that property that we could do as well.
So there's no benefit to preserving the septic as it is then?
No, and it's really old. What was that paperwork I sent you, 1973 or something? So it's an older system as well.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we're talking about using that as a trailhead at some point and putting a parking lot in. So we were told we can crush the septic, so it doesn't have to be removed.
Ethan talked to them on that, but yes.
So they will pump it, crush it, and fill the hole, and it will not be removed, it will just be buried, is what they're.
Okay, so the hope is that going forward, it's not going to be an obstacle for us in the future.
Right.
All right, thank you.
You need a vote on that, Barbara?
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Then Chad talked about the cameras. We got a lot of action we're seeing on those cameras. As far as nighttime traffic in Crandall, it's pretty interesting.
Are those live streaming yet?
Not yet. They are on my phone.
Are you getting any sleep at night?
Yeah, I check them in the morning. It gives me something to look forward to. Docks Inn, Fainer still has our kayak launch that did not get burnt. They're trying to find a way to mate it with their dock system. So we'll be able to mount it to one of the sides of the new dock. That's pretty much all I've got.
Just Blake.
You know, I'm really interested in the cameras and what happens at night at Crandall. And it's a problem I didn't know, I didn't want to know that we had, but I assume that we did. And I'm wondering, you know, we put cameras there. We have other parks. Do we have an issue, or do I want to know if we have an issue? We have people sneaking around in the dark?
I got a voicemail on my phone just while I was sitting back there from a lady who lives along the Paul Henry Trail, and she wanted to report that someone's living back there and asking us to do something about that. So there's definitely issues that we're not seeing that could be addressed with more surveillance or.
To that point, I think, you know, we knew that there was an issue at Crandall, and so we started there, and I think you could expect to see roll out of more. We wanted to make sure the system we purchased was gonna meet the needs. So now that we're into that a little bit, I think we would expect to put some more out at different locations. So it's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in today, right? Some of the appeal of some of the natural areas is not having cameras and lights everywhere, right? But when we have vandalism and several thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage, we've got to do something. So even at Crandall, I spoke with the sheriff yesterday at the ribbon cutting. I think even putting a gate there to deter some of the ins and outs of the parking lot would really help with the nighttime stuff going on there. It's just all throughout the night, people are pulling it out of there and then wandering around the park. I mean, if our parks are closed at dark, we need to do something to enforce that. If inevitably somebody will get locked in, if our staff locks the gates at night and they call the 911 or the non-emergency number and have to have a deputy come unlock them, and if they get cited for trespassing or a warning or whatever, I think that would, after a couple months of that, would really slow down some of that nighttime activity.
Okay.
So not to be redundant, because you just kind of hit on it, but to generalize the type of traffic, we're talking about people driving in. We're not dealing with, because I know not terribly and far from there, there's like some homeless encampments like back towards Charlotte a little bit. So this is people with vehicles just coming in with bad intentions.
So it's both. So we have a camera at the entrance off M50 there. So all throughout the night, people are coming in. They pull up next to each other for 2 minutes and leave, and maybe they're just shaking hands. I don't know. But I have my doubts.
I'm sure there's a handshake.
And then so that camera captures all the activity at the driveway. And then the other cameras capture foot traffic, whether they're parking there and walking in, or I assume that's what's going on. But all throughout the night, you have foot traffic. I assume kids are back there partying. You had, oddly enough, we had last Thursday at 4:30 in the morning, a guy walked back there with a shovel and came out at 5:30 with the shovel. I don't know what he was digging or burying, but just odd stuff like that. That we never would have known about without the cameras, right? So
that reminds me of a Seinfeld episode.
yeah. So I think to answer, yeah, I think we should roll out some more of that stuff, just as a precautionary, and we can always take them down. They're solar, with a battery backup, and we could always take them down, move them, relocate them. That's kind of the beauty and why it took so long to get them implemented. We wanted to find the right system that without putting a bunch of power in some of these places and costing a lot of money, that we may decide in the future we don't need the camera at that location or a light or whatever the case may be. So. Right.
Jill, you had a question?
Well, my questions were generally answered by Brian's comments and Chad, so I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
It's Ethan's turn now. Before Ethan
Yes,
goes,
yes.
if I may, I just want to thank again Feitner for the donation of the docks. That company that's been located here in Charlotte for quite some time. It's just another example of working together with local businesses to make Eaton County better, and it helps when the businesses have employees and owners that live and play in Eaton County too. So we're very, very grateful for Feitner and for their donation, and I just want to make sure that we publicly thank them again for that, because it's a beautiful dock out there, and it'll be even better when we get that kayak launch back on there, but thank you.
I just want to add to that, because I was out there yesterday too, and that is a very nice dock. And we should, I just hope somebody doesn't abuse it, because that was a very nice donation to our parks.
Ben said little kids have been playing on it already, swimming and stuff, getting it out of the water. Yeah. It was really Ben.
Good morning, guys. So, believe it or not, camp is going to be concluding this Thursday. Regardless of everything, of how this summer has been full of changes, I think camp went great. The kids are having fun, getting a lot of good feedback from the parents. And then, like Claudine said, we will be welcoming a new member to our team on the 19th, and they will take over direction of the camp next summer. Then we had our Island Art Show in Fitzgerald Park this year. That went great. Eaton County had a booth there. We had the rec trailer out with a whole bunch of activities for the public. And then on Friday, we'll be hosting the Upstream with a Paddle at Crandall Lake. So the public can come out to that. We'll have our rec trailer there, as well as I know there'll be some vendors from the area. I think Eaton County Conservation District will also be there.
What time is that event, Ethan, Friday?
I want to say it starts at 6.
5 to 9.
Evening, okay.
Okay. And then Fitzgerald Park, disc golf course. We're trying to start working with a group called Above Par that wants to come in and fix up the course and reroute the holes that will be affected by the wastewater treatment plant installation. The only thing we really need for that is the actual footprint from the city of Grand Ledge. Okay, and then the Lincoln Brick Interpretive Center, it's been cleaned out. Everything that can be used has been organized for future lessons and exhibits. once we get a few things sold on my bids, our hope is that we'll be able to get the exhibits that we have planned installed this winter, and then the public will be able to come in and enjoy that space spring of 2025. Then the ruins at Lincoln Brick Park, they experienced quite a bit of damage from the storm that we had last August. We put out for 3 bids, but only one really got back to us as far as masons go. And they came in at $5,500 to do all the repairs, and that'll make the structure safe for people to walk in and out and explore around. That's pretty much all I had. Is there any questions?
Is there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Oh,
I just have one comment I wanted to make. I'm excited that we have a new director that's going to be getting ready to start with us next month. I think everybody's looking forward to that. But I want to thank Ben and Ethan, Chad, of course, for what Chad has done. But we're very fortunate in the last couple of months. I've had an opportunity to talk with and work with Ben and Ethan through some different meetings and discussions that we've had. And we're real fortunate to have you guys here at the county. And I appreciate the knowledge and the passion that you guys bring to the parks. And hopefully, next month, we're going to talk about a potential restructure, which I'm excited about, and I think will make sense for the parks. And hopefully will make it a little bit more efficient for us to run our parks department. And I think that the 3 guys sitting right there are going to be a big part of that. And I look forward to them hopefully being a part of our park system into the future, because you guys are really, really doing a good job. So thank you.
thank you. Any other, yes, Brian?
I just wanted to add in, if you don't get on YouTube much, I would suggest you go there and look up Keene or Keeney in Bellevue. There's a guy that did I know he wasn't part of the parks. I don't even think he lives in Michigan, by the way he was talking, but he went down there and walked through the ruins and the boardwalk, and it was, ironically, it was just a couple weeks before all the vandalism took place down there on the boardwalk. So he walked down there while there's still railing, and it was open. He did go off the park property and into the old cement plant, but it was just neat. It's a neat video. If you get a chance, go on YouTube and look for it. I can't think of the guy's name. It's his name is the name of the channel. The other thing is, Eaton County Parks was gifted the old train depot in Eaton Rapids. It's a good-sized building. It's old. I don't know how old it is. I don't know the history of it. I think we might find out about it here soon. But it's a neat project, and it's a preservation thing. And the reason we were gifted that is Rick Nobeck is the owner, and he's going to sell that property next year, and he's fairly certain that that entire block will get demolished, and probably housing and other things will go up in it. And he hates to see that building get demolished, but he's not willing to move it himself. So we have less than a year at this point to come up with a way to transport that, and I'm going to say piece by piece, because I don't think it could be moved in one piece as a unit. I would love to see it go up in Crandall Park as our main building, or one of the main buildings in there. It doesn't have to be identical to the building in construction, but I would love to see the facade go up. But from my understanding, a lot of the woodwork and what made it a railroad depot is still intact on the inside. So I think this is a neat gift. We need buildings out there anyway. We might as well preserve some of the history of our county. So, and it looks like Chad has a comment to make, so go ahead, Chad.
I'd like to get his contact info from you.
Sure.
After the meeting.
Okay.
I need to make my way out there and take a look at it and see what the feasibility is and what we can do to make that happen. So.
Okay, yep. I'll do that. Thanks, Chad.
Anything else? We're done with all the parks report, so we're on to miscellaneous.
I just want to let everybody know next month on the agenda will be a public hearing for, well, not on this agenda, on the board agenda. I want to let you guys know that I'm going to be putting an ad in the paper for a public hearing for the next board meeting. in September. We're required to do that by MISTA. We have to report all the funding that we spent last year and what's available to spend for this year before we can spend any money. So that will be on the board agenda in September. So a public hearing notice will be going in the paper in case you see it or get asked about it.
Do we have any other announcements? Limited public comments? None? Meeting stands adjourned.